right, hello, and thank you for staying with us. It's still our special coverage of the rerun and by-elections going on in about 80 local government areas across 26 states in Nigeria. We are staying on development, and reports have been reeling in from our correspondent. The Independent National Electoral Commission is conducting elections to fill vacancies in senatorial districts, federal and state constituencies across the 80 local government areas. The elections are usually being conducted in the case of resignation, death, or removal of a lawmaker. But as in this case, it is a replacement of vacant seats due to special appointment and lawmakers removed during post-election litigation. The election is going on in a number of states: Ebonyi State, Borno, Kaduna, Plateau State, Yobe State, Kebbi, Lagos State, Ondo, Taraba, Benue State, Akwa Ibom State, amongst others. Well, here in Lagos, the by-election is holding in Surulere Constituency 1, and as reported by our correspondent, there's been a high level of security. Same with other states like Plateau, Taraba, Nasarawa, and a few other states. It was recorded that as early as 7 a.m. this morning, ad hoc materials were deployed to various polling units, and voting started at about 8 a.m. There's been a concern about the adherence to the restriction of movement, and it seems like a few persons did not comply with this. There's also the issue of low voter turnout, as reported by our correspondents across different states in Nigeria. Now, this and many more concerns we expect to be addressed by the Resident Electoral Commissioner in Lagos and also the PPRO Lagos Police Command in the course of this program. But let's take a short break, and when we return, the program continues. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. Still a special coverage of rerun and by-elections going on in about 26 states across the Federation. It says that voting is still ongoing in some polling units across the 80 local government areas in 26 states and in Taraba State. As a candidate of the PDP and the NNPP for Jalingo Yerozing federal constituency have raised concern over low voters turnout for the by-election. Well, I have with me in the studio my colleague Emmanuel Ajayi. Glad to have you join me at this time. Yes, just before we, move to voting in areas like Taraba State, let's quickly hear your opinion about the election in Surulere Constituency 1. I know you covered it last year.
Yeah, well, basically, our reporters have been on ground since morning, giving us up-to-date analysis of events happening in Surulere Constituency 1. You know what's happening there is the particular vacant seats of the Constituency 1, where we have the current Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Bajabiamila. Because of that particular appointment, there's a vacant seat going on in that particular area. But for now, it's still very peaceful, except to hear any other development. When I covered that particular election in 2023, there were pockets of violence in some areas in Surulere. But what we can see at the moment is still very peaceful. But the issue of low voter turnout is recorded. You recall when our correspondent joined us in the morning, giving us the data analysis of what is expected in Surulere. Is about 86.3% of voters that collected their registered cards. But with what we are seeing at the moment, I asked the question earlier to Ola Wakon. He said he's very much optimistic, but with what we are seeing going on in Surulere, it's a voter turnout. Is it that the voters are not aware about this particular election, or is it that INEC did not do the needful to sensitize Nigerians about this election that is ongoing.
We could also, fall on the idea that some voters are not aware about the election in Lagos State today because of the restricted movement. We still have buses moving, and many people do not seem to be interested in the movement. But we also need to, address the issue of the low voter turnout as compared to when you covered the election last year. Is it that people are no longer interested in voting in the country, or they are not interested in whoever runs that particular state?
Some people will come from the patterns that, okay, the election is settled. They want to go about their normal businesses. And somehow they will tell you that, well, whether we vote or not, some have that perception that their vote may not count. But with the Supreme Court judgment, it has come to stay that the beavers is what we need to have at this election. We saw what happened in the Supreme Court judgment. Some other litigations are still on concerning this issue. That's why we're having rerun in some states like Plateau and Taraba. So whether we like it or not, we are back again to the issue where political parties will end up going to the courts to settle out.
But I mean, it's
some decisions made by the people.
Emmanuel, I feel it's a good one for Lagos State to have just one constituency, and it is a by-election as a result of an appointment and not a court, order at this
Just
time.
like what is transpiring in Plateau. But let me quickly run through some of the registered voters that we have in this particular election. We have about 80 local government areas participating in this election, about 575 registration areas and ward, and 8,936 polling units involving over 4.5 registered voters, out of which I'm talking about the 26 states at the moment, out of which we have about 4.6 have collected their permanent voter cards. And we saw what is transpiring in Surulere at the moment. So we need to also get to speak to our correspondent to see what is the voter turnout in their various states.
Well, our correspondents have been coming on to give us updates as regards voting in these areas. And as you can see live pictures on our screens, the polling units are literally empty. It seems people are no longer interested in voting in this country. Everyone is going about their duty. But then we'll go back to that before we go back to Surulere. Let's go back to Taraba State, where two candidates in separate interviews shortly after they cast their vote at the polling unit 007, Amode Primary School, Jalingo, and Tashan Lao 001, have commended INEC officials for coming out in time for the exercise. We also had INEC officials coming out as early as about 7 a.m. This was reported by our correspondent, that is Abimbola Agbebi. But let's hear what they have to say as regards that.
It's characterized by low voter turnout. Before, when you come to this place around this time, in fact, you hardly can find space. But today, you can see everywhere the people have not come out en masse to actually cast their votes. But we are appealing to all and sundry to actually do that, because not voting at all is a surrender. So people should come out and vote, please.
Your name, sir?
My name is Aminu Liman.
How will you the process so far so good?
So far so good. Everywhere is calm, everywhere is peaceful. But just like I said, low voter turnout is our problem today.
All right, so what is your expectation at the end of the exercise? In the fact that you're one of the candidates vying for this?
Yes, I am the NMPP flag bearer vying for the position. So God willing, we are going to take the victory. Is going to be ours.
Voting started 8:30 a.m. in the morning as planned. From all indication, the process has so far been peaceful. But I think there's something to say about turnout. In my opinion, it appears very low, even though one cannot reach a conclusion, because this is a process that stretches up to 2:30. Because it's an agrarian community, I'm sure some people may go to farm in the morning and come back. But I hope that we can have better turnout. And if that does not happen, It means then that there's no adequate mobilization of voters in terms of our own public outreach, in terms of political parties and candidates reaching out to voters, in terms of the role of other agencies, you know. But I do think that what we require is the peacefulness of that process, and that in the end, we count the votes without shortchanging any of the parties and the candidates. So if that happens, we are happy as a commission.
Okay.
And that's Benue, where the state resident electoral commissioner has commended the process. However, he's concerned about the level of voter turnout. This is also the same issue we're having across Nigeria today. Some have also raised concerns about the cost of, these elections. We expect that for something as, well, not too little as a by-election, is it possible for us to have maybe the second runner-up come up to, take up a position rather than running the election or, running a mini election within the party?
Not until Nigerians or politicians accept the result at the polls, we'll keep having by-elections and also the rerun elections. But I'm not surprised with the issue of the voter turnout in this particular election. You recall that in the 2023 election, we have about 26.72% voter came out to cast their votes. And also, when you look at this, it's not that encouraging when you have about 93-point-something million who collected their PVCs, and the turnout is not that encouraging. So with what we are saying is just a call to every political stakeholder in the country to tell Nigerians the need for INEC to come out to say, okay, there's a need for you. It's your right to go out there and make your choice, that your vote will definitely count. But until we do that, Nigerians will definitely want to sit back. And for me, I don't like a situation whereby when you sit back and you don't do the needful, and you go out there and start complaining that, oh, this leader is not doing well, this one is not doing, what have you done to make that choice count? Because you have that right that when you cast the ballot, you can stand by it to ensure it counts.
Talking about ensuring that the vote counts, I hear that we have our correspondent Godwin Agwam live for us in Nasarawa State. Good to see you, Godwin.
It's good to see you too. It's windy here, but I'm standing right in front of polling unit 007 of Agaza Ward in Kiana local government. Of course, the election that is going on here is to fill the vacant seat at the Nasarawa State House of Assembly for the Kiana constituency. There's a large turnout of voters in the 5 polling units where these elections are being conducted. In fact, here where I am now, voting and accreditation has ended. They are just only waiting for sorting and counting to begin before they start theirs. But in other polling units we have visited, there's a large number of voters, so they are still voting, and they are expected to commence sorting and counting the moment all the voters have been able to exercise their franchise. One thing that is important to note here, why is this by-election holding here, is because why the by-election here is holding here in Agaza Ward is because this Court of Appeal cancelled or annulled the election of the March 18, 2023 because they said that the votes that was casted here, that the person who won the election, who was said to have won the election, won with only 65 votes. So, according from their own judgment, they feel that the number of persons who were disenfranchised from this ward were more than the number of vote difference. So, which is, we have over 2,300 registered voters from this ward here in Agaza. So, the Court of Appeal feel that the number of vote difference, and of course, the number of persons who were disenfranchised, that of the number of persons who were disenfranchised outweighs that of the vote difference. So that's why a rerun was ordered in this place. So as I can tell you, everywhere is peaceful so far. The security personnel are seen everywhere, ensuring that there's maintenance of law and order in the 5 polling units where this election are ongoing. And it's expected that the moment voting ends, sorting and counting will begin.
All right, Godwin, from what I see on the screen, you seem to have a large number of voters coming out to, exercise their rights during these elections as compared to other places. Can you tell us how that turned out?
Well, it's important for the people here in Agaza Ward because this election has a lot to say and it's going to make a difference in the Nasarawa State House of Assembly. At the moment, but the majority, the ruling party has 9 members in the State House of Assembly, and of course, the leading opposition party here has 9 members in the State House of Assembly. So this election will determine who will have the majority seats in the State House of Assembly. That's why there's a large number of voters here. They are here to exercise their franchise so that they can make impact at the National State House of Assembly.
But with the voting ending this early, does it seem like we should be expecting the result anytime today?
Yeah, of course. So with what we are seeing here, that the voting has ended here in this polling unit, but although voting is still ongoing in other polling units, but with the large number of voters and with the INEC who came out early, to conduct this election. We're expecting that any moment from now, voting will end and sorting and counting will begin.
Have you been able to speak with any voters regards exercising their rights? How do they feel about doing that, and what are their expectations as regards the outcome of this election?
Yes, we spoke with some voters earlier when the election commenced, and they feel excited, they feel happy, knowing that the election materials arrived in good time, and of course, they were able to exercise their franchise without anybody interfering with their rights. So they feel happy and they are expectant that, yes, with the process so far, they're expecting that the election will be free and fair.
All right, thank you very much. That's our correspondent live for us in Nasarawa State, Godwin Agwam. Thank you for joining us at this time. Now let's return here in Lagos, where the resident electoral commissioner, Professor